Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
My summers as a kid were always a blur of sun-baked asphalt and the cool, damp smell of Osprey Lake. It wasn't a huge lake, not famous, just a quiet, deep body of water tucked away in the foothills of the Appalachians. My family had a small cabin there, and every year as soon as school let out, my two best friends, Oakley and Zoey Dean, would join me. We were inseparable, the three of us, bonded by a shared love for the wild quiet of that place. Our favorite spot was this ancient, half-submerged fishing dock on the far side of the lake. We called it the Whispering Post because the wind always seemed to carry faint, murmuring sounds through the rotting wood. It was falling apart, a skeletal finger reaching out into the water, but to us it was a fortress, a spaceship, a secret base. We spent hours there, skipping rocks, telling stories, and carving our initials deeper into the moss-covered pilings each year. Things started subtly, as they always do. First, it was just my old fishing hat, the worn-out one with the lucky lure pin. I swore I'd left it on the dock's railing. The next day, it was gone. We searched everywhere, blamed the wind, blamed each other. Then Oakley's rusty pocket knife vanished from our secret hollow in one of the pilings. Zoe swore she'd left her favorite seashell collection on the edge of the dock for safekeeping, only to find an empty patch of bare, rotting wood. We brushed it off as carelessness, or maybe a prankster squirrel. But then the quiet started. Not just the normal, peaceful quiet of the woods, but a profound, unnatural silence. The birds stopped singing. The cicadas hushed. Even the distant hum of traffic on the highway seemed to vanish. It was heavy, like a blanket thrown over the world, muffling everything. It would descend suddenly, usually in the late afternoon, just as a peculiar, almost iridescent haze would begin to creep from the deepest parts of the lake. It wasn't quite fog. It shimmered, almost like heat rising from pavement, but cold. The colors of the trees would shift, a dull green turning to an unnatural gray, the lake water a murky, unsettling brown. The first time the haze truly got to us, we were huddled under a makeshift tarp on the Whispering Post, trying to outlast a summer shower. The rain stopped, but the silence remained. The shimmering haze rolled in, thick and heavy, swallowing the shore and mooting the world around us. Oakley, ever the daredevil, stuck his hand out into it. He recoiled immediately. "It's cold," he whispered, his voice sounding strangely hollow. "And it feels like static." Zoe, who always had an uncanny knack for sensing things, said, "It feels like it's looking through me, not just at me." I just felt a chill that wasn't from the air, a deep, unsettling intuition that something was terribly wrong. We began to notice other strange occurrences around town. Old man Donovan Schuster, who lived in a ramshackle house by the lake and was known for his meticulously organized tackle box, started complaining about his lures disappearing. "Gone, just gone," he'd grumble, his eyes wide and bewildered. Mrs. Finch, who ran the general store, kept misplacing her spectacles, only to find them days later in odd, impossible places, once in the sugar dispenser. People talked about feeling lighter. Like parts of them had been shed, or perhaps forgotten. Zoe, being the most analytical, suggested we try to track the haze. "It always seems to come from the same general area." She'd point towards a particularly dense patch of old-growth forest that abutted the lake's western edge, a place local legends warned against. We armed ourselves with flashlights, a compass stolen from my dad's boat, and Oakley's newly acquired and slightly bent hunting knife. Our mission: find the source of the whispering haze. The next time the silence fell and the shimmering haze began to roll in, we headed directly for that forbidden stretch of woods. The air grew heavy, the silence absolute, broken only by our own ragged breathing. The haze here was thicker, colder, swirling like a living entity. The trees became indistinct blurs, their forms wavering at the edges of my vision. I felt a growing sense of disorientation, a vague unease that clawed at the back of my mind. It was hard to remember why we were even out there, or what we were looking for. Suddenly, Zoe stopped, pointing a trembling finger. "Look," she gasped. Through a momentary thinning of the haze, I saw it, a strange, almost crystalline structure, shimmering faintly, half buried in the earth near the lake's edge. It was like nothing I'd ever seen, intricate and fragile, pulsing with a faint internal light. It felt ancient and hungry. Oakley, true to form, didn't hesitate. He started to push through the haze towards it, his eyes fixed on the strange artifact. Maybe it's a meteor, he yelled, his voice muffled and distorted by the mist. Or an alien ship. Oakley, no, Zoey screamed, but it was too late. He was nearly there, reaching out a hand. As his fingers brushed against the shimmering surface, the haze around him intensified, coiling and swirling like a hungry serpent. Oakley screamed, a sound that seemed to tear at the fabric of the silence, but it wasn't a scream of pain. It was a scream of emptiness. His face contorted, his eyes wide with a terror that I can still see in my nightmares. He pulled back, stumbling, clutching his head, a choked sob escaping his lips. What was that? He whimpered, looking at us, his gaze unfocused. Where are we? Who? Zoey and I grabbed him, dragging him back, away from the shimmering thing and the coiling mist. We ran, stumbling through the now thickening haze, not looking back. We didn't stop until we burst out of the woods, gasping for air, the world around us suddenly filled with the familiar chirps of crickets and the distant croaking of frogs. The haze was gone, seemingly vanished as quickly as it had appeared. But Oakley was different. He couldn't remember why we were in the woods or what we had just seen. He didn't remember finding the whispering post or the names we gave to the trees. He remembered us, thankfully, but everything else was foggy, like a page torn from his mind. Zoey and I have tried to remind him to fill in the gaps, but it's like trying to rebuild a sandcastle against the tide. The memories just slide away. And now, sometimes, when I'm alone, I feel it. A subtle chill, a brief flicker in my peripheral vision, a momentary lapse in memory. Did I turn off the stove? Did I lock the door? And occasionally a whisper that isn't the wind, but something much, much older, echoing with the soft, insidious promise of erasure. The whispering haze may have receded from the lake, but I think it's found a new home, inside my head. I'm starting to forget little things. I hope I don't forget this story before I can tell it again.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.